guys. I mean, the topic this time is real easy. It's the Dogs in the draft and kind of where they went and what it does for Georgia overall. Greg, do you want to just maybe say some quick things about, how you felt Georgia did as a whole?
I don't really know how to judge these things, but it seems that they had a good day in the draft. There were a lot of numbers about the draft. Having 7 people chosen tied a record, I think. Is that right? Josh, you probably know that. It did.
Yeah, it tied a record. I think there was maybe a little bit of disappointment, with I think Rodrigo and Jake falling to the 5th round made it kind of bittersweet for the Dogs. But overall, I think it was a pretty good draft. And I think Swift falling out of the 1st round, too, might have been a little bit of disappointment.
Well, and I think that's a good person to start with because I kind of focus on, did they land somewhere where they can compete? Because as any person going to the next level, that's the one thing you want is, okay, somebody's taking me, but now can I really get on the field? And when you look at Swift, I mean, to be paired with Kieran and then Bo Scarborough, I mean, that is like SEC powerhouse, and they're all back there helping protect and being options for Matthew Stafford. So the fan in me just thinks, I love this pick.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him in Detroit. I think he's going to get a chance to play, and I think that franchise, could be poised to make a move. And I'm excited that they went Swift. I mean, he went the number 2 over running back. It's not like he got passed over. I just think that running backs in the 1st round are pretty rare, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire went 32nd overall. So it's that's just where the NFL is doing these days. They're not taking running backs in the 1st. And
the thing with Swift was surprising to a lot of people, but as you said, if the fact that he was in the 2nd round, but only the second running back, and a lot of people might argue that he should have been the 1st. But you don't know what the teams are looking for when they pick a back or any player for that matter. So second running back taken.
I'm glad that Swift is where he is too. There's upside there for him to make an impact for their.
Well, and I did a little bit of research on from the it seems like the sports writers that follow Detroit thought they maybe should have leaned on defense because that's been their real problem with that 2nd pick. But media and fans alike, the opportunity to get a playmaker, it seemed like Detroit as a whole was pretty happy, although still a little bit worried about the defense, but they also got one of the best defensive backs. I mean, incredible what they got in the 1st round. So, as Georgia fans, hey, we're now Lions fans even more. So I think that's great. And then, of course, Andrew Thomas came in with the 4th pick to the Giants, and you put that with Tae Crowder being Mr. Irrelevant with the last pick. Much like Detroit, Georgia fans have a whole lot of NFL is about to sell some more Giants gear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the 2nd year in a row the Giants took a dog in the 1st. So they clearly like what we're doing. And if you're talking about recruiting, I think there's a relationship that the Giants have with the Georgia staff, and I think that's a lot what can be sold to these kids. It's like, look, we're putting boys in the NFL. We know we're giving them what they need and players and there's a respect there, and I think it's what kids want to see. They want to see a way to the play on Sundays, and I think Georgia's given players that. 7 picks, and then the 4th overall pick. You have another top 10 pick. Andrew Thomas was, I think, I read he was consensus top pick on the offensive line, which is what Georgia's doing really well right now. I know Greg likes some O-linemen.
Yeah, there was no surprise with Thomas, and just really happy for the kid. He's going to make a lot of money. He's going to create a lot of good publicity for Georgia. Nothing but good stuff there.
Well, and when you look a little bit about, not shockingly for anyone that covered him, he killed it in the combines in his interviews. One person wrote, "Man, he is an A+. He's smart." Everything that Georgia people knew, but then we've got some friends that live in Manhattan. There's a lot of excitement with Daniel Jones, and the fact to have such a home run to help protect, an up and coming quarterback. I mean, the Giants, and as you said, Josh, there were about 10 to 12 teams that he wasn't quite sure who was after him. And so to go that quick, like the Giants even were considering trading up. They wanted him so much, but they couldn't get anybody. So that's very exciting.
And Georgia's put 3 linemen in the draft.
That was probably the surprise from a Georgia standpoint. Him jumping up into the first round was a surprise. Even Mel Kiper still, he still thought he could have really benefited by staying for a year. Greg, you were around him. I mean, the guy is just size, speed. He's just a freak. And you got to be careful calling someone a freak, but, for what the dimensions he adds, speak a little bit to that, Greg.
First of all, he wouldn't mind you calling him that. The kid's got a good sense of humor. He would understand and wouldn't mind it at all. I'm 6'3", and this kid is just I'm trying to get my hand in here, so just way taller than I am, and he's huge. But the thing that he's done when he came in, yes, he obviously was the same height as he is now, or very close to it, but his body was completely different. That's the main thing that Georgia did for him. And besides the offensive line technique that he learned as a freshman while sitting out, change in his body. He's become lean at, I think, 6'7", right? Is that right? He can move. He's smart. He's really a Thomas type player. He just didn't develop as quickly. I think he's going to be a prototype NFL offensive lineman.
Josh, you got anything you want to add on?
No, I was excited to have 2 linemen go in the first round from Georgia again. We're building another good offensive line. It's just important to Wilson came in as a 5-star and he leaves in the first round. So that's what you want to be able to show these recruits.
And when you look at the Titans, they're run first. They want to beat people up. Derrick Henry he's a freak at running back. So to have Wilson basically in the mix to basically beat people to a pulp, to me that is too exciting for Tennessee, because as we know, they are getting somebody that does not mind picking on someone smaller than them in a good way, because that was Kirby's. Let's face it, we're switching now this year, but the mentality under Kirby has been, we want to wear you down and beat you in the fourth quarter, and that is completely who the Titans are.
Yeah, and that's who that young man is as well. That's been his entire training since he got to college. That's how you play football. So he's going to fit right in there.
All right, now we move to the one that, had Bulldog Nation, had everyone just freaking out a little. Jake Fromm, of course, had to wait, way more than a lot of people thought. However, in my opinion, where he landed and has the opportunity to show the Bills what he's like, and the Bills have a quarterback that's a risk taker with the ball, Fromm can see action soon next year.
Well, he's a smart football mind and a smart football player who's going to be great in a quarterback meeting room. I think that's going to be one of his best attributes for that franchise. Just get in there and do the job, and he's ready to do it. And I think I kind of like the fact that he's not expected to start, and go in there and mature as an NFL player and hopefully get some snaps.
Yeah, I tell you what I think hurt Fromm more than anything else is that the lack of interviews this year. I mean, everybody says, yeah, Fromm is a smart quarterback, and his physical descriptions vary from can't throw a lick to weak arm kind of thing. But those same analysts, if pressed, will start talking about his how he manages the game and how he calls a game, and those are the kinds of things that are going to help him when he actually gets to showcase his football
and I think
intelligence.
I think he needed pro day big time. I mean, the struggles that at the combine, everybody's read about it, and I think him not having pro day probably did help him. But when you read, they don't take a lot of quarterbacks in the third and fourth round. The teams that need a quarterback have done that either in the first or second. So from what I looked at, it wasn't that crazy to slip some. But one thing I thought that was a little disappointing is how everyone in Bulldog Nation had to because he slipped, it somehow showed that he either was the guy at Georgia or that Kirby didn't do the right thing. Were y'all kind of surprised to see some of that, or is it just there's nothing else to do? Let's jump on the bandwagon of this, that, and the other.
Well, here's the thing. On Thursday night, you got the first round and all the big names. And then as Friday and Saturday go along, there's got to be some stories written. And it was an easy one to write. Big-time program, big-time quarterback, falls to the fifth. I mean, I know Pete Thamel wrote an article that I was livid about, and talked about how Kirby had pocket aces and couldn't play them and pick the wrong quarterback. Jake Fromm had 30 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in 2018 and was the 5th best quarterback efficiency rate wise. It wasn't like he started, a 3-star that couldn't get the job done. He pushed Alabama to the brink again in the SEC championship game. He won his semifinal as a freshman. There's no way that Kirby made the wrong choice. He had to make a choice. And as far as I know, Justin hasn't won a national championship either. I'm good with having Fromm. I wish we had him one more year, in fact. But, Greg, what do you think? I know you got something to say on this.
No.
Come on.
I agree. I don't have anything to say about Fromm. This is an exciting 3 years of Georgia football, and anybody that is criticizing, any Georgia fan that's criticizing Fromm needs to look at the history.
Yeah. Go ahead, Vance. Sorry, I mean.
He just won a slew of games, and he did it the right way. Like I said, I was a little miffed, but I think that's the times we're in where everyone has their own sounding board. So what else do? You just sort of throw it out there that, he was the wrong guy or whatever. But I'm glad we got consensus here.
Yeah. I mean, he's 3-0 against Florida. He's a damn good dog no matter what.
Well, and I like it that this many more Georgia fans are a lot closer to going and seeing Niagara Falls now.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to go there in early January, but
yeah. Because now you got a real reason to go up there, catch a game, and like you said, Josh, maybe the week off between before the Georgia game would be a good time to get up there before it gets real cold.
Yeah, I think some Georgia fans could probably hold their own with that tailgate Bills Mafia they got up there. Maybe we'll have some people doing backflips off pickup trucks this year down in Athens.
And boy, Jake is going to be able to hunt some big old wildlife that's supersized up there in upstate New York, I would think. So, well, we just got a little bit more time, guys. Let's maybe end on, some of the free agents. I do want to quickly talk about Charlie Warner going to the Niners. In my opinion, a wonderful fit. They're a tough-minded. At the end of the year last year, nobody wanted to even get on the field with the physicality of the Niners.
Yeah. I mean, and he's poised to send another dog to the Super Bowl. They're right there on the edge of going back again next year, and I'm happy for Charlie to get a job and on an up and coming franchise. I mean, they're there. They're not up and coming. They're there.
I was going to mention Rodrigo and
Perfect.
Him getting latching on. I think is an undrafted free agent, right?
Yeah, signed by the Colts.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, Colts. Okay. Anyway, his career at Georgia has certainly been noteworthy, and Josh and I were talking about this before the show. We were both kind of surprised that he lasted as long as he did. But I was also glad to see. Excuse me. Go ahead.
I got a little hot when the Falcons picked a punter in the 7th round that it wasn't Rodrigo, and I know that's a history of Falcons not picking up dogs in the draft. And I thought it would have been, like I'm a dog, I'm a homer, I'm not agnostic about this, but I just thought, come on, I mean, he's a hometown kid. He played in Marietta, he's kicked a 51-yarder and clutch in that same stadium they play at 8 games a year. I just thought it would have been a slam dunk for the Falcons to bring him in, but maybe it's a good thing for Rodrigo. He gets out of town, gets out of there, and goes and gets a chance to make a career in Indianapolis, which is a good place to kick. He's in the dome, and I hope he has a long NFL career. He was definitely one of my favorite dogs to cheer for.
Well, like I said in the beginning, what I like most is all the way down the board for Georgia former players now. They've landed in some spots where they've got the opportunity to compete, and that's all you can ask for good Georgia guys that really gave to Georgia. So very happy for all of them. Guys, I appreciate it. We're getting to our max limit where people may listen to us. So until next time, we appreciate it, and go to